Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose. I am so grateful that you are back with me here right now. Whether you're walking your dog, whether you're cooking, whether you're driving, whether you're just hanging out, or whether you're at work, thank you so much for lending me your time, investing your energy and your presence and your focus here on Purpose. Now, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is just as we grow older, as another year goes by, we start to reflect more deeply about the friendships that matter, the people around us, the people at work, the people we spend the most time with. How many of you have found yourself in that situation where you're starting to be much more observant about who you give your energy to, who you spend time with, how you connect with people, and to what level? And how many of you are at this point where you're just tired of small talk? You're tired of all the quick chats, the superficial, surface level conversation, and you're craving a much deeper, a much more meaningful interaction. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't want to have fun. It doesn't mean that you don't want to laugh. It doesn't mean that you don't just want to have a great time. Of course, you want all of that, but you want it to mean more. You want it to matter more. You want it to lead to more in that relationship rather than less. And I think a lot of us are feeling distant, feeling further away, feeling disconnected from people that we were once close with. How many of you have a friend in your life that you know you used to talk to every day, but now you rarely talk? How many of you have someone in your life that you used to feel it was so easy to connect with, but recently you've just started to find it more and more difficult to open up? And how many of you are struggling to find someone to be vulnerable with? I think we're hearing a lot about the loneliness epidemic. We're hearing a lot about the disconnectedness of humanity, especially since the pandemic. I think we've all found it harder and harder to kind of go back to what we had before. And we haven't really found where we're heading now. And I think a lot of people are feeling this where you're in a different emotional maturity and state than the people in your life, right? How many of you have felt that where you're like, well, I'm on this emotional track and I thought this person was with me, but actually they're on a completely different track. And it may have even taken you a while to even let that settle and to understand it. At the core of it, what a lot of us feel is that we don't have people around us who really understand us, who really see us, and who really hear us. Right? Have you felt that recently where you're like, I think I'm talking to a wall. I think I'm talking right through people. Or maybe you're feeling, oh, I don't want to trouble someone with this. I know that they've got enough on. But we all have that feeling, that need of yearning for connection, of yearning for understanding. The first thing I'm going to ask you to focus on, as I always do, is yourself. Do you understand where you're at, and can you articulate it effectively? I think for so many of us, we're wanting other people to understand us, other people to read our minds. We assume that they should know. We assume that they should be able to adapt, that they should recognize, acknowledge, value, whatever it is that we need. But I really want you to sit with this. Do you understand where you're at? And can you articulate it? I think this is such an important point in order for you to consider, because the better you are at communicating, sharing how you feel, why you feel that way, what you're going through, you're actually increasing the listener's ability to also comprehend your thoughts. Now, the second point I wanted to make today is from a writer named Brian A. Chalker. And this writer wrote this beautiful poem called Season, Reason, or a Lifetime. This has been such a big reflection point in my life. And as the author says, everyone comes into our life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And I want to ask you to think about a list of people that came to your mind when I started this episode and ask yourself, is that a seasonal person? Is that someone who came in for one season and that was it? Or are they someone who shows up seasonally, but then they aren't as relevant, important, consistent at other times? You think about certain things, right? You don't eat ice cream all year round, but it's really fun when you can eat ice cream when it's hot outside and it's warm and you're feeling like it. But you don't have to eat it every day to appreciate it. I think we often feel like, oh, if someone's seasonal, they're not good. If someone's seasonal or just for a season, then they're not a great person. The truth is, they can play their role, they can play their part, and you play your part and your role in their life, and things go on. It's when we expect to be able to eat ice cream all year round that we have the issue, right? We don't have an issue with the fact that we like enjoying ice cream at a certain time of year, but to think I need it all year round, that's where the challenge arises. So who in your life is like that? Maybe they're back every summer. Maybe they turn up at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, or they're amazing during the holidays. Maybe they're a family member, but they're not someone that you can hang out with all the time. They're not someone who resonates all the time. It's okay. And what we're doing is we're almost compartmentalizing for ourselves that that is a seasoned person or a seasonal person, and that's their role. We're not expecting more of them, and we're not expecting less of them. We recognize what they want to do in our life. And what I've realized is when you can accept what someone shows you is who they want to be and how they show up for you, you can now share moments and memories with them without what they should have been, what they could have been, what they should have been for you by now, right? So I want you to recognize that. Chalker also talks about people who come into your life for a reason. These are often the most difficult people that we meet, right? This could be someone who actually caused a challenge or an issue. They came in our life to teach us something that was painful. And if you went through this a while ago, you can now see the reason. But if you went through it recently, the reason is the last thing you want. So if you're going through pain right now, if you're going through stress right now, if you're going through pressure right now because someone just came in, created a whirlwind and then left, and you can't see the reason right now because you're just dealing with the debris that's cascaded all over your life, then that's okay. But at one point, with some distance, you'll be able to recognize the reason. And when we recognize the reason, it changes us. When we recognize the reason that someone came into our life with, we now protect ourselves from that experience in the future, and we prepare ourselves to know. These 2 points are really important. We prepare ourselves for future relationships, and we protect ourselves for future relationships. And this is something that I really want you to hone in on and value and deeply, deeply recognize of where in your life have you not understood the reason someone came in with. Maybe there was someone long, long ago that you've even hidden away that you feel triggered by and uncomfortable bringing up in a safe space, maybe with a therapist, with a friend. Maybe when you've created some distance, reflect on it and ask yourself, when they did that, what did I learn from it? What was the reason? And the third part that Chalker talks about is people who are there for a lifetime. There are some people who may not have the biggest impact on you. They may not do the most for you, but they're always around. They're always there. Their loyalty, even when it's tested, proves to be true. It proves to be real. It proves to be powerful. And that person you realize, who's with you for a lifetime, is someone that you continue to invest in. So I want you to think about who in your life is a season, who in your life is a reason, and who in your life came in and has stayed for a lifetime. And start understanding that it's okay that people play different roles in your life and you play different roles in their life. And I think when we expect everyone to play the same role, or we expect everyone to behave the same, or we expect everyone to respect us the same, or respond with us the same, or connect with us the same, that's when our challenges occur. That's when our issues occur. Now, maybe you're thinking that there are certain friends you want to rebuild with. And I want to do a reflection exercise with you. You can even journal about this. I want to ask you, what has broken? So when I asked you earlier, like, oh, maybe there's someone in your life that you used to talk to, you don't talk with anymore, or someone you used to be open with, but now you can't imagine anything but being closed with. If you want to fix it, if you want to repair it, the first question is why? Why is it worth repairing? Do we really believe that that person has something to offer us? Do we really believe that we need some closure? We have to get really intentional and clear about why we would revisit an old relationship. And then we have to ask ourselves, what broke? Was it trust? Was it connection? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was it? How truly bad was that disconnect? And ask yourself, what in your current state of that relationship makes you feel uncomfortable or devalued that you've let it go? Is it too big? Is it too much to bear to have to reconnect, putting aside how devalued you feel? Or is the relationship worth more to you? And I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves if we're trying to repair a relationship. Is repairing this relationship worth more to me than the pain caused when trying to repair it? Repairing anything will be uncomfortable, it will be hard, it will be challenging. But sometimes the belief that I want to do the right thing, I want to have this conversation. And this applies to current relationships. I know that there's someone I'm building a friendship with right now, and we're growing in our trust, we're growing in our loyalty. And I had to call them last week and have a really uncomfortable conversation with them about something that I thought could negatively affect our relationship, and actually it positively improved it. Hey guys, it's Shetty here, and I couldn't be more excited to share this exciting news. You asked, we delivered. Junie sparkling tea with adaptogens made by my wife and I are now available in all Sprout locations across the country. Junie is the perfect midday pick-me-up. With only 1/3 of the caffeine found in brewed green tea, it provides a gentle energy boost without the crash. It only has 5 calories and 0 grams of sugar, making it the perfect drink. Plus, it's made with a delicious blend of adaptogens and nootropics that may help boost your metabolism, combat stress, pack your body with antioxidants, and stimulate brain function. Head over to your local Sprouts or visit sprouts.com to find the closest location near you. Now, I didn't call with the expectation that me being honest and vulnerable and transparent would improve the relationship. I didn't call with the intention or the belief that they would turn around and say, Jay, I really respect you. Because when we act in a way in order to gain a certain reaction, we often leave feeling quite reduced and disappointed. What I mean by that is, if we behave in a certain way or act in a certain way because we are predicting, expecting, or wanting a particular type of response, we're setting ourselves up for failure. We've got to have the conversation because we believe it's the right thing to do. We have to have the conversation because we believe that it's the honest thing to do. We have to be the one to have a conversation because we think to ourselves, this is how I'd like people to treat me. This is how I'd like to be led. This is how I'd like to connect. And when we do it with that reason, whatever the response is, whether it's positive or whether it's not what we were looking for, we can hold our head high and still move forward. If you're trying to reconnect with someone too, I would ask yourself, when was the last time you deeply checked in with them? I find that our society has become a lot more self-centered. We're always like, why is no one checking in with me? Why do people treat me like that? Why did they say that to me? And sometimes I find, and by the way, I'm prone to this as well, where I don't have the self-awareness. Like I don't see myself behaving in the same way as I don't like someone else behaving, right? Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Like I remember someone I knew was telling someone else, they're like, I can't believe you go to your boring job every day. And in my head, I'm thinking, wow, like if you're making that person feel boring and that's the job they have to go to every day, imagine how bad they're going to feel. But this same person was saying they can't believe people say to them, oh, I can't believe you're deciding to do that. That sounds scary. That sounds like the wrong thing. So often we don't even have the self-awareness to deduce that what we're saying to others is what we don't like people saying to us. The way we behave with others is a behavior that we don't appreciate in the way people behave with us. That to me is a really subtle and nuanced point, but it can truly save or break relationships. Now, I have to acknowledge that not every friendship has to have a future. Just because you had a past, just because you have memories, just because you have nostalgia, doesn't mean you have to force a future with a friend. It is okay to let it go. It's okay to let them go or let them let you go. It's okay. Trying to force a friendship into the future will actually cost you more than you realize. Because if someone doesn't want to be in your life, or if you've realized that you no longer want to be in theirs, you're simply wasting time and energy. Let's celebrate something for what it was. Let's revel in what it was at the time when it served us, it nourished us. And it's okay if it doesn't anymore. You had a lunchbox that you took to school every day. You don't use the same lunchbox anymore. You wore clothes that you loved and felt really cool in. You don't wear the same clothes anymore. You lived in an apartment that you've outgrown. It's okay. And we don't have to do it with bitterness. We don't have to do it with pain. We can do it with love, celebration, and a positive outlook. One of the reasons why we feel distant from our friends is because our best memory with them is an old one. The last time our relationship achieved something or we did something was an old one. And one of the biggest things I found with friendships and why they felt shallow and not deep was I found myself, especially because I've left London now, I found myself whenever I went back home, I would often spend time with big groups of people. And I found a lot of my friends do that too, right? We run out of time. We have less and less time. We can't see everyone, couples, friends individually. And so we go, okay, let's just invite everyone over once a month and we'll see everyone. And what ends up happening is you have this really small, short conversation, this small talk exchange with each and every person, right? You know what it feels like. You've hosted before. You just about get to, oh, how was your last week? How's the weekend? Oh yeah, you went to that place. Oh, great. Okay, let me move on. Oh yeah, how's your week been? Oh yeah, your new job. Congrats. Okay, let's move on. I'll be honest, managing money has always been something I've had to stay mindful about. It feels like everywhere you turn, someone's trying to make you spend. That's where Acorns comes in. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. Plus, Acorns will boost your new account with a $20 bonus investment. Offer available at acorns.com/purpose. That's acorns.com/PURPOSE to get your $20 bonus investment today. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 6 compensation provided. Investment involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/purpose.
I'm Cheryl Swoops, WNBA champ, 3-time Olympian, and Basketball Hall of Famer. I'm a mom and I'm a woman.
I'm Tarika Foster Brasby, journalist, sports reporter, basketball analyst, a wife, and I'm also a woman.
And on our new podcast, we're talking about the real obstacles women face day to day.
See, athlete or not, we all know it takes a lot as women to be at the top of our game.
We want to share those stories about balancing work and relationships, motherhood, career shifts. You know, just all the shit we go through.
Because no matter who you are, there are levels to what we experience as women.
And T and I, well, we have no problem going there.
Listen to Levels to This with Cheryl Swoops and Tarika Foster Brasby, an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment. You can find us on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey y'all, Nimini here. I'm the host of a brand new history podcast for kids and families called Historical Records. Executive produced by Questlove, The Story Pirates, and John Glickman, Historical Records brings history to life through hip-hop.
Smash, slam, another one gone. Bash, bam, another one gone. The crack of the bat and another one gone. The tip of the cap, cause another one gone.
Each episode is about a different inspiring figure from history. Like this one about Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old girl in Alabama who refused to give up her seat on the city bus 9 whole months before Rosa Parks did the same thing. Check it.
And if you get with me, did you know, I wouldn't give up my seat. 9 months before Rosa, it was Claudette Colvin.
Get the kids in your life excited about history by tuning in to Historical Records. Because in order to make history, you have to make some noise. Listen to Historical Records on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When we're connecting with lots of people in a fast, shallow, and simple way, we're naturally making our relationship less and less deep and less meaningful. If we're always spending time with people in large groups where we have to move on from conversations quickly, we have to figure out, if you're hosting, obviously you got to do all the hosting stuff, and you're not getting that time and space, your relationship will always depend on how close you were back in the day. I have a friend that we invested in deeply with probably over 10 years ago. And now if I see him, it's easy for me to reconnect with him and kick it off from where we left off. But that's what we're doing. We're kicking off from over 10 years ago because we don't have a dynamic live relationship right now. And so I have to ask myself, is this a relationship I want? Is this a relationship I care about? Is this a relationship that I value? Then let me make sure I'm having these one-to-one conversations with. I've noticed this because I've got friends back in London that I do talk to on the phone one-on-one. I've noticed that those are the relationships that satisfy me the most. Those are the relationships that mean the most to me. And so really figure out how much of your time are you spending in groups and how much of your time are you spending one-to-one. And I would argue, to really make sense of it, I would say 75% of our time should be spent one-on-one with the people we care about, and 25% should be spent in groups. Group time is amazing. It's exciting, it's fun, it's helpful in different ways, it's healing in different ways. But it's so important to have that one-to-one time. Sometimes the reason we've disconnected from people or we've distanced ourselves from people is that we're protecting ourselves from unwanted drama or unwanted anxiety. So we stay distant, right? Like maybe we didn't have a closer conversation. Maybe we didn't figure out a relationship conversation. Maybe we haven't had the uncomfortable or awkward discussion. And we realize if I just stay far away from this, I never have to have it. How many of you have felt that way? Where you actually want to be close to someone, but you stay away from them because you know it requires a really painful conversation. Now, the challenge here is you're missing out on a potentially amazing relationship. That person might be sitting there wondering what's going wrong as well and what's happened to that relationship as well. And we almost miss out on the depth of connection. But I understand it. But what we've done is instead of setting a boundary, we've set a barrier. This is a really important point I want you to listen to. So often when we're trying to set boundaries, we end up setting barriers. Barriers keep others out. Boundaries keep us safe from ourselves. Barriers make us believe the problem is the way someone treats us. Boundaries are us understanding and accepting that we need to treat ourselves better. Don't get so busy building a barrier that you lose out on a relationship or a friendship because you were actually meant to set a boundary. What I mean by this is if I reached out to someone and said, hey, you know what? I know we haven't talked in a while And I always felt, and by the way, I did this last year. I remember talking to a friend and just saying, hey man, like I think we got distant a while ago. And this was the reason I got distant. And this is why I felt we got distant. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, I've lifted the barrier that I've placed, and I'm allowing to hear this. Now, once that person has shared how they feel with me, which they did,